The stars had been bleeding for 200 years. Commander Ji-won stood on the bridge of her ship, watching another battle unfold on the distant screens. The Valiant Empire ships glowed like angry suns, their energy weapons cutting through space in bright lines of death. Against them, the dark bioships of the Korth Collective moved like living things, their metal hulls breathing and pulsing as they fired back. Caught between these two giants were her people, the Althan Federation. Their blue shield ships tried to protect the civilian transports escaping from another dying world. But even with their advanced shields, they were losing. They had been losing for decades. "Another colony falls," said Hyun-soo, her chief science officer. He was young for his position, but the war had killed so many experienced officers that young people had to step up fast. "The Korth took Epsilon 7 this morning. 3 million Althan civilians." Ji-won closed her eyes for a moment. 3 million more lives lost to this endless war. The Valians wanted to rule everything. The Korth wanted to turn everyone into part of their hive mind. And the Althans just wanted to survive. Commander called Soman from her station. She was their best scanner operator, able to read sensor data better than anyone. "I'm getting something strange from the outer rim. There's a star system we've never seen before." "Impossible," Hyun-soo said. "We've mapped this entire sector. Look at this." Soman transferred her data to the main screen. "It's a yellow star with several planets. But the energy readings don't make sense. One of the planets is covered in electromagnetic signatures, but they're not like anything we know." Ji-won studied the readings. After 15 years of war, she had learned to read energy patterns like other people read books. This was different. Very different. "The power sources are spread all over the planet," she said slowly. "Millions of them. But they're primitive compared to our technology."
"How are they stable?"
"This kind of global industrial activity should have destroyed their world centuries ago." "That's what I thought too," Soman said. "But look at this." She highlighted another section of data. "Their atmosphere is actually getting cleaner in some areas. They're somehow balancing industry with environmental protection." Hyun-soo leaned forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his usual caution. "No known species has ever achieved that. When civilizations reach global industrial levels, they either destroy their planet or develop clean fusion technology. This shows neither pattern." Ji-won felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, they had found something that could change the war. "There's more," Somin continued. "I'm detecting massive construction projects in their orbit. They're building something big up there, but the materials they're using, it's all wrong." "Wrong how?" Ji-won asked. "They're using heavy metals and chemical rockets, ancient technology. But somehow they're making it work on a massive scale. They've built structures in space that should collapse under their own weight, but they're stable." The bridge fell silent as everyone considered this information. A species that could make primitive technology work in impossible ways was exactly what the galaxy needed right now. "Commander," the communications officer called out. "Priority message from the High Council." Elder Minho's tired face appeared on the screen. He looked older every time Ji-won saw him, the weight of leading a dying civilization showing in every line on his face. "Ji-won," he said without greeting. "How bad was the loss at Epsilon 7? "Complete evacuation failure, Elder. We saved maybe 10% of the population." Minho nodded grimly. "The Korth are moving faster than we expected. Our projections now show complete Althan extinction within 8 months unless something changes dramatically." Ji-won glanced at the sensor data still showing on her screens. "Elder, we may have found something. An unknown species in the outer rim with unusual technology." "Explain." Ji-won quickly summarized their discoveries. As she spoke, Minho's expression changed from resignation to interest to something that might have been hope. "A species that makes primitive technology work at advanced levels," he mused. "That suggests problem-solving abilities we've never encountered. Very well. I'm authorizing first contact." "Elder, that violates every protocol we have," Hyun-soo protested. "First contact with unknown species requires months of preparation and—" "We don't have months," Minho cut him off. "We have days, maybe weeks. If this species can help us or even just provide refuge for our people, we have to try." Ji-won understood. The Althan Federation was dying. Normal rules didn't apply anymore. "Set course for their system," she ordered. "Maximum speed." As her ship turned toward the unknown star system, Soman made another discovery that chilled everyone on the bridge. "Commander, long-range sensors are picking up other ships heading for the same system." Valian energy signatures to the north, Korth bioships from the east. They found them too, Jiwan whispered. The race was on. 3 dying civilizations, locked in eternal war, had all discovered the same unknown species at the same time. The Valians would want to conquer them. The Korth would want to assimilate them. The Althans just wanted to survive. But as Jiwan watched the sensor readings during their journey, she began to wonder if this new species would want any of those things. Their energy patterns were chaotic but somehow organized. Their technology was primitive but incredibly effective. Their planet showed signs of thousands of different cultures and languages, yet they worked together on global projects. What kind of species are they? She wondered aloud. I don't know, Hyunsu replied, staring at his data. But whatever they are, they're not like anything else in the galaxy. 3 days later, as they entered the outer edge of the solar system, Soman made a final discovery that changed everything. Commander, the other fleets are already here, but they're hiding on the edge of the system just watching. Watching what? The planet. Its people. I think all 3 of our species are afraid to make first contact. Jiwan looked at the readings one more time. A species that balanced industry with environment, that made primitive technology work at impossible scales, that somehow coordinated thousands of cultures into global cooperation. Maybe the question wasn't what this species could do for the galaxy. Maybe the question was what the galaxy was about to do to them. Take us in, she ordered. Let's meet our new neighbors. The war was about to change forever. Soman had never heard anything like it. For 3 days, she had been listening to the communications coming from the blue planet. The species down there used thousands of different languages, but somehow they were all connected. Radio waves, digital signals, and communication methods she didn't even recognize filled the space around their world. They talked constantly, she told Jiwan as they moved closer to the planet. Music, news, personal messages, scientific data. They never stopped communicating with each other. Can you understand any of it? Jiwan asked. Some of it. Their mathematics are similar to ours, so I can follow their science broadcasts. But their thinking patterns. Soman paused, trying to find the right words. They don't think like us. They don't think like anyone. On the other side of the solar system, War Prime Tai Hyun was having similar thoughts aboard his massive ship, the Solar Dominion. His psychic specialists had been trying to read the minds of the planet's inhabitants for 2 days. The results were disturbing. Their thoughts are chaos, reported his chief mind reader. We cannot establish mental control. Every time we try to connect with one of their minds, it fights back in ways we've never seen. Taehyun studied the reports with growing frustration. The Valian Empire had conquered dozens of species by first dominating their thoughts, then their bodies. Mental control was their greatest weapon. Explain fights back, he ordered. Their minds don't work in orderly patterns like other species. Each individual thinks differently. When we try to impose control, their thoughts scatter in random directions. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. Then we will conquer them the old way, Taehyun decided, through superior firepower. But even as he said it, he wondered why his advanced sensors couldn't get clear readings on the planet's defenses. Their technology looked primitive, but something about it didn't add up. In the southern part of the system, the Korth bioship was having its own problems. Node Commander Seulgi had sent bioprobes to analyze the planet's population for potential assimilation into the collective. The probes had been destroyed. Not by weapons, but by something worse. The specimens resist neural integration, reported the bioanalysis node. Attempted connections resulted in feedback loops that damaged our processing systems. Seulgi examined the data through the collective's shared consciousness. The species on the planet had individual minds that somehow worked together without losing their independence. It was the opposite of the Korth way, where all minds joined into one. How can they coordinate without unity? Seulgi wondered. The collective had no answer. Commander Jiwan made the decision that would change galactic history. Instead of waiting and watching like the others, she chose to reveal herself. The hologram projector on her ship created her image in the main meeting room of the United Nations building. She appeared in front of 200 world leaders who were already in emergency session, discussing the alien ships that had appeared in their solar system. People of Earth, she said in carefully practiced English. I am Commander Jiwan of the Althan Federation. We come in peace. The reaction was not what she expected. Instead of panic or fear, The humans immediately started asking questions. Tactical questions, strategic questions, questions about the other ships they had detected. Secretary General Young-ho stood up from his seat. He was older than Ji-won had expected, with gray hair and calm eyes that seemed to see everything. "Commander Ji-won," he said formally, "we welcome you to our system. We are aware that you are not alone. Our satellites have detected at least 3 different types of vessels. Are you all friends?" Ji-won was surprised by the directness of the question. Most species took days just to accept that aliens existed. These humans were already asking about galactic politics. "No," she answered honestly. "We are at war. Have been for 2 centuries. A woman near the front of the room stood up. She was younger, wearing a simple blue suit, but something about her manner suggested she was important. "I'm Dr. Yoonji, Earth's lead astrophysicist," she said. "Can you tell us about this war? We need to understand what we're dealing with." Ji-won spent the next hour explaining the galactic situation. The Valian Empire's desire to rule everything. The Korth Collective's need to assimilate all life. The Althan Federation's fight for survival. As she talked, she watched the humans' faces. They weren't afraid. They were thinking, planning. She could almost see their minds working through the problem. "So you're caught between 2 enemies," Dr. Yoonji summarized. "The Valians want to conquer, the Korth want to assimilate, and you just want to survive." "That's correct. And now all 3 of you have found us at the same time." "Yes." Secretary General Young-ho leaned forward. "What do you want from us, Commander?" Ji-won had prepared for this question. "Sanctuary for our people. Alliance against our enemies, perhaps help." "Help with what?" "Ending the war." The room fell silent. Then Dr. Yoonji did something that shocked Ji-won. She smiled. "You know," the scientist said, "we've been preparing for this conversation our entire history. We just didn't know it." "I don't understand." "Stories," Dr. Yoonji explained. "For thousands of years, humans have been telling stories about meeting aliens, about space wars, about impossible situations that require creative solutions. We've imagined every possible scenario." Young-ho nodded. "Dr. Yoonji is right. Humanity has spent centuries thinking about how to handle first contact, how to fight space battles, how to survive against superior technology. We call it science fiction, but it's really strategic planning." Ji-won felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying you've been preparing for galactic war?" "Not intentionally," Young-ho replied. "But yes, every movie about space battles, every book about alien contact, every game about interstellar conflict has been unconscious preparation for this moment." Dr. Yoonji stood up and walked to the large screen at the front of the room. With a few quick commands, she brought up data that made Ji-won gasp. "We've been tracking all 3 of your fleets since you entered our solar system," the scientist said calmly. "We've analyzed your technology, your communication patterns, your probable military capabilities." The screen showed detailed breakdowns of Valian, Korth, and Althan technology. Information that should have taken months to gather. "How?" Ji-won whispered. "Because we think differently," Young-ho explained. "We don't have one unified way of thinking like your enemies. Every human approaches problems from a different angle. When you combine millions of different perspectives, you can solve almost anything very quickly." Dr. Yoonji turned back to face Ji-won. "Commander, we appreciate your offer of alliance, but we have a different proposal." "What kind of proposal?" "Complete cessation of hostilities between all 3 galactic powers, establishment of a new confederation based on cooperation rather than conquest, and immediate peace negotiations." Ji-won stared at them. "That's impossible. This war has gone on for centuries. The Valians and Korth will never agree to peace." "They will," Dr. Yoonji said with quiet confidence, "when they understand the alternative." "What alternative?" Secretary General Young-ho's expression became very serious. "War with humanity. But you're just one planet. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Our technology is different from yours," Dr. Yoonji corrected. "Not necessarily inferior, and we have something your galaxy has never seen before." "What?" 4 billion people who all think differently but choose to work together anyway. Imagine what kind of military strategies that produces. Ji-won felt the universe shift around her. These humans weren't asking to join the galactic war. They were offering to end it. And somehow, looking at their calm confidence, she believed they could do it. The question was, would the galaxy accept their offer? Or would it choose to learn the hard way why Earth's dominant species had survived ice ages? Asteroid impacts and their own nuclear weapons? The answer would come soon. Very soon. Admiral Dongyun had been waiting his entire career for this moment. As Earth's highest-ranking military officer, he had spent decades preparing for the possibility of alien contact. Now standing on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, the UES Defiance, he was about to represent his species at the first Galactic Peace Summit in 200 years. All ships report ready. Admiral, his communications officer announced. Dongyun looked at the tactical display. 12 human ships hung in formation around him. It seemed like such a small number compared to what they were about to face. Admiral, Commander Jiwan's voice came through the communication system from her own ship nearby. The Valian fleet has arrived at Nexus Prime. 300 ships. Understood. And the Korth? 1 bioship. But it's... Jiwan paused. Admiral, it's the size of a small moon. Dongyun nodded calmly. Intelligence had suggested the alien fleets would try to intimidate humanity through superior numbers. It was exactly what he had expected. And the Althans? 1 diplomatic vessel. Commander Jiwan will be representing them in the negotiations. Good. Take us to Nexus Prime. The journey to the neutral meeting point took 6 hours. As they approached the ancient planet where galactic treaties had been signed for millennia, Donghyun studied the alien fleets through his sensors. The Valian ships were beautiful and terrifying. Sleek vessels that glowed with internal energy, armed with weapons that could crack planets. Their formation was perfect, disciplined, showing centuries of military tradition. The Korth bioship was something from a nightmare. Its hull breathed like living skin, covered with weapon ports that opened and closed like mouths. Smaller bioships swarmed around it like insects around a hive. Impressive, said Captain Hygen, his tactical officer. But predictable. Explain. The Valians are arranged in a classic intimidation formation. All firepower focused forward, designed to make their enemies feel small. The Korth are using swarm tactics, surrounding their main ship with smaller vessels to create the illusion of infinite numbers. And their weaknesses? The Valian formation can't maneuver quickly without losing their intimidation factor. The Korth swarm is actually vulnerable because all the small ships have to stay close to the main one for coordination. Donghyun smiled. This was why he loved working with humans. Give them any tactical situation, and they immediately started thinking of ways to win. The summit took place on Nexus Prime's largest space station, built into the ruins of an ancient civilization. Representatives from all 4 species gathered in the main chamber, while their fleets maintained positions around the planet. War Prime Taehyun arrived first, his golden armor gleaming as he took his position at the negotiation table. He was tall, impressive, radiating the confidence of someone who had conquered dozens of worlds. Node Commander Solgi appeared next, though appeared wasn't quite right. The Korth leader was actually dozens of smaller creatures working together, their shared consciousness speaking through one mouth. Commander Jiwan represented the Althans, her blue uniform modest compared to the elaborate displays of the other species. And then Dr. Yunji walked in, wearing a simple black suit and carrying a tablet computer. This is humanity's representative, Taehyun asked with obvious disdain. One small female with primitive technology? I'm Dr. Yunji, Earth's chief science diplomat, she replied calmly. And yes, I'll be speaking for humanity today. Where are your generals? Your warriors? Your leaders? Silgi's multiple voices demanded. I am our leader for this discussion, Dr. Yunji said, taking her seat. Humans believe the right person for each job should do it, regardless of rank or tradition. Taehyun laughed. Typical primitive thinking. Very well. Let us get this over with quickly. He activated a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. Red zones marked Valian territory. Green showed Korth space, and small blue areas indicated the remaining Althan worlds. Humanity will choose sides, Taehyun announced. Join the Valian Empire, and we will grant you protected status as a client species. Refuse, and you will be conquered like all the others. The collective offers absorption, Sulgi added. Your biological distinctiveness will be preserved. Your mental uniqueness will be added to our own. Resistance is pointless. The Althan Federation requests sanctuary, Jiwon said quietly. We offer protection and alliance in exchange for refuge for our people. Dr. Yunji listened to all three proposals, then activated her tablet. The holographic display changed, showing detailed tactical analyses of all three fleets. "Thank you for your offers," she said politely. "We decline all three." The chamber fell silent. "You decline?" Taehyun sputtered. "Yes. Instead, we propose immediate cessation of hostilities between all galactic powers, establishment of a unified confederation, and the beginning of cooperative exploration beyond our galaxy." Sulgi's collective voices spoke as one. "Impossible. The war has continued for 2 centuries. It cannot simply end." "It can," Dr. Yunji replied, "when you understand the alternative." She touched her tablet again. The display now showed real-time sensor readings from the human fleet. "Primitive technology." Taehyun scoffed. "Your ships are made of metal and chemical rockets. We could destroy your entire fleet without taking damage." "Could you?" Dr. Yunji asked. That's when Admiral Dongyun's voice filled the chamber, broadcast from his flagship. "Attention all fleets. This is Admiral Dongyun of the Terran Defense Force. You have 60 seconds to accept humanity's peace proposal, or we will provide a demonstration of why that would be in your best interests." "Demonstration?" Taehyun stood up angrily. "You dare threaten the Valian Empire with 12 primitive ships?" 50 seconds, Dongyun replied calmly. Sulgi's collective consciousness quickly calculated odds. Human fleet capabilities insufficient for threat response. Probability of human victory 0.01%. 40 seconds. "This is ridiculous," Taehyun declared. He activated his communication system. "All Valian ships prepare to destroy the human fleet. Show these primitives the price of challenging their betters." 30 seconds. Dr. Yunji looked sadly at the alien representatives. "I had hoped you would be more reasonable." 20 seconds. Jiwon watched her sensors with growing alarm. The human ships were doing something impossible. Their energy signatures were fluctuating in patterns that made no sense. 10 seconds. Taehyun opened his mouth to give the attack order. "Time's up," Dongyun announced. What happened next changed galactic warfare forever. 3 human ships moved simultaneously against 3 different targets. One engaged a Valian destroyer, one targeted a Korth biocruiser, and one tested the Althan shields. But they didn't move like any ships the galaxy had ever seen. The human vessel facing the Valian destroyer seemed to dance around its target, moving in patterns that violated every known principle of space combat. The Valian ship, designed to overwhelm enemies with superior firepower, couldn't track a target that moved like it was playing instead of fighting. The ship engaging the Korth biocruiser used tactics that made Sulgi's collective consciousness hurt. Instead of trying to overpower the biological vessel, it seemed to confuse it, sending signals that made the bioship's living components fight against each other. The ship testing Jiwon's shields didn't attack at all. Instead, it somehow appeared on the other side of the shield barrier, as if the shield didn't exist. In less than 5 minutes, all 3 alien ships were disabled. Not destroyed, just completely unable to fight back. The chamber fell silent again, but this time it was the silence of shock, not disbelief. "How?" Taehyun whispered. Dr. Yunji smiled sadly. "Because we think differently. Your species each developed one way of fighting and perfected it. Humans developed 10,000 ways of fighting and then combined them." She touched her tablet one more time. Now the display showed something that made all 3 alien leaders gasp. Admiral Dongyun's flagship was appearing in 3 different locations simultaneously. "Your ships are bound by the physics you understand," Dr. Yunji explained. "Our ships are bound by the physics we're still discovering. Humanity has been preparing for interstellar war since we first looked at the stars. Every story we told, every game we played, every simulation we ran was practice for this moment." Taehyun sank back into his chair. "What do you want?" "Peace," Dr. Yunji said simply. "An end to the killing. A chance for all our species to explore the universe together instead of fighting over pieces of it. And if we refuse," Dr. Yunji's expression became very serious, "then you'll discover why the species that survived ice ages, meteor impacts, and their own nuclear weapons is not something you want as an enemy." The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the answer. War Prime Taehyun had never retreated from battle in his entire life. But as he sat in the chamber on Nexus Prime, watching the impossible readings from the human fleet, he felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. "This is unacceptable," he said, standing up from the negotiation table. "The Valian Empire does not surrender to primitives." He activated his communication system. "All ships, attack formation. Destroy the human fleet immediately." Dr. Yunji looked at him sadly. "Are you sure about this decision? I am War Prime of the greatest empire in galactic history. I do not negotiate with inferior species." "Very well," Dr. Yunji replied. She spoke quietly into her own communicator. "Admiral, they've chosen the hard way." What followed became known throughout the galaxy as the 20-minute war. From her position aboard the Althan ship, Commander Jiwan watched in stunned silence as 300 Valian warships moved to attack 12 human vessels. The odds were impossible. No fleet in galactic history had ever survived such overwhelming numbers. The human ships scattered, but they didn't scatter randomly. They moved in patterns that seemed chaotic but somehow worked together. Each ship acted independently, yet they maintained perfect coordination. "How are they doing that?" Hyunsu asked, staring at his sensor readings. "They're not using quantum communication. They're not mentally linked. They're not even following standard tactical doctrine. They're improvising," Jiwan realized. "Every ship is making its own decisions, but they all understand the same goal." The Valian ships, trained in centuries of disciplined warfare, tried to engage the humans in traditional combat. But the humans refused to fight traditionally. One human ship flew directly into the middle of a Valian formation, spun in a tight circle, and somehow disabled 6 enemy vessels without firing a shot. Another appeared to split into 3 different ships, only to merge back together after confusing an entire squadron. A third human vessel did something that made Jiwan's sensors malfunction. It flew backwards through time for 30 seconds, attacked a Valian ship before that ship had finished turning to face it, then returned to normal time flow. "Impossible," Hyunsu whispered. "You can't fly backwards through time. The energy requirements alone would need a star-sized power source." "Tell that to them," Jiwan replied. On the other side of the battle, Node Commander Sulgi was having similar problems. The Korth Collective had decided to support the Valians, sending thousands of bioships to swarm the human fleet. It should have worked. Korth swarm tactics had overwhelmed every enemy they had ever faced. Individual ships couldn't handle thousands of attackers at once. But the humans weren't individual ships. Not really. As the bioships swarmed toward them, the human vessels suddenly began to move like they shared one mind. But not like the Korth, where many minds became one. Instead, 12 independent minds chose to work as one while staying independent. The result was tactical coordination the galaxy had never seen. Human ships passed by each other at impossible speeds, exchanging targets in mid-flight. They created interference patterns with their engine signatures that made the bioships lose track of their prey. They used gravity itself as a weapon, somehow bending space to redirect the Korth swarm back on itself. "This is not possible," Silgi's collective voices said in unison. "Individual minds cannot achieve this level of coordination without joining consciousness." But they were doing it anyway. The battle turned when Admiral Donghyun's flagship demonstrated why humanity was truly dangerous. The massive ship, no larger than a standard cruiser, suddenly appeared in 3 different locations at the same time. Not copies or holograms, but the actual ship existing in multiple places simultaneously. From Position 1, it disabled a group of Valian heavy cruisers. From Position 2, it somehow convinced a Korth bioship to fight against its own swarm. From Position 3, it projected a shield around the Althan diplomatic vessel, protecting Jiwan's ship from stray weapons fire. "Report," Taehyun shouted at his tactical officers. "How are they doing this?" "Unknown, War Prime. Their technology should not be capable of quantum multiplication. Our sensors cannot explain how one ship can be in 3 places, then destroy all 3. We have tried, War Prime. When we attack one location, the ship simply isn't there anymore. When we track it to a new position, it has already moved again." In the chamber, Dr. Yunji continued calmly monitoring the battle on her tablet. Node Commander Silgi's many voices spoke to her urgently. "How is this possible? Your species has been spacefaring for less than 100 years. We have studied warfare for millennia." "That's your problem," Dr. Yunji replied without looking up. "You studied warfare. We invented it." "Explain." "Every species in the galaxy developed military doctrine based on their nature. Valians fight with overwhelming force because they believe in dominance. Korth use swarm tactics because you think collectively. Althans use defensive strategies because they value survival. She finally looked up from her tablet. Humans fight with controlled chaos because we survive by adapting. We don't have one military doctrine. We have thousands. Impossible. No species can master multiple tactical philosophies. We don't master them. We use them. A human commander will switch between tactics mid-battle if it gives them an advantage. We'll copy our enemies' strategies, improve them, and use them against their creators. The battle was ending, not through destruction, but through something the galaxy had never seen. Complete tactical dominance without massive casualties. The Valian fleet, the most powerful military force in known space, simply stopped fighting. Not because their ships were destroyed, but because they couldn't figure out how to hit targets that moved like the humans did. The Korth swarm dispersed, their collective consciousness unable to process combat against enemies who fought with coordinated independence. Attention, all fleets. Admiral Donghyun's voice filled the communication channels. This concludes our demonstration. We have disabled your weapon systems without destroying your ships. Your crews are unharmed. In the chamber, War Prime Taehyun sat down heavily. His face showed the expression of a man who had just watched his entire worldview collapse. How many of our ships did you destroy? He asked quietly. None, Dr. Yunji replied. We disabled your weapons and engines. Your crews are safe. We could have destroyed your entire fleet, but that wasn't the point. What was the point? To show you that continuing this war is pointless. Humanity offers a third option that nobody in the galaxy has considered: cooperation instead of conquest. Silgi's collective voices were unusually quiet. Our bioships report extensive system damage but no casualties. How did you disable living vessels without killing them? We talked to them, Dr. Yunji said simply. Your bioships are partially alive. We convinced them that fighting wasn't in their best interest. You talked to our ships? Dr. Young-ho back on Earth is a xenobiologist. We've had teams studying your technology since you arrived in our system. We know more about your bioships than you think. Elder Minho's voice came through the communication system from the Althan vessel. Commander Unji, on behalf of the Althan Federation, I formally request to surrender to humanity. The chamber fell silent. We don't want your surrender, Dr. Yunji replied. We want your partnership. Our partnership? The galaxy is bigger than our current conflicts. There are other star systems to explore, other challenges to face. Humanity offers alliance to all three species, not conquest. Taehyun looked at his tactical reports one more time. 300 ships disabled by 12. The mathematics made no sense, but the results were undeniable. What are your terms? He asked finally. Immediate ceasefire. Establishment of a galactic confederation based on cooperation. Shared technology and resources. Joint exploration of unknown space, and if we refuse? Dr. Yunji's expression became very serious. Then you'll learn why the species that survived its own attempt at self-destruction is not something you want as an enemy. Seulgi's collective consciousness calculated probabilities for several minutes. The collective accepts human terms. Taehyun stared at the tactical display showing his disabled fleet. Pride warred with practicality in his mind. Finally, practicality won. The Valian Empire accepts negotiation. Dr. Yunji smiled. Excellent. Now let's discuss how we're going to explore the rest of the universe together. The 20-minute war was over. The age of galactic cooperation was about to begin. And somewhere in the back of her mind, Dr. Yunji wondered what other challenges awaited them among the stars. 6 months after the 20-minute war, Commander Jiwon stood in what used to be the Valian Empire's greatest military academy. Now it was the Galactic Cooperation Center, where former enemies worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. The building's walls, once covered with monuments to conquest, now displayed collaborative research between all four species. The energy efficiency improvements are remarkable, said Dr. Hunsu, reviewing the latest reports. Combining Valian energy manipulation with human engineering principles has increased power output by 300%. Jiwon nodded, watching through the window as mixed crews worked on ships that belonged to no single species. Valian energy systems, Korth biotechnology, Althan shields, and human innovation all working together. Who would have thought, she said quietly. Ambassador Jiwon, a voice called from behind her. She turned to see Secretary General Young-ho approaching. now serving as the first Galactic Coordinator. The Council is ready for your report. The Galactic Council met in what had once been neutral space, now transformed into the center of the new Confederation. Representatives from all 4 species worked together on everything from trade agreements to exploration plans. As Jiwon entered the main chamber, she saw familiar faces in unfamiliar roles. War Prime Taehyun, now called Defense Coordinator Taehyun, was reviewing security protocols with Admiral Dongyun. The 2 former enemies had become unlikely friends, bonding over their shared understanding of military strategy. Node Commander Sulgi sat at the science station, her collective consciousness now individual by choice. The humans had somehow convinced the Korth that independence didn't mean isolation, and many collective members had chosen to think for themselves while still cooperating with their former hive mates. The Economic Integration Report, Young-ho announced as the meeting began. Ambassador Jiwon? Jiwon activated the holographic display. Trade between all 4 species has increased by 800% since the formation of the Confederation. The Valians are sharing their energy technology. The Korth are providing biological engineering. The Althans are contributing their defensive innovations. And the humans are coordinating everything with their management systems. Problems? Asked Dr. Yunji, who now led the Galactic Science Council. Surprisingly few, Jiwon replied. The biggest challenge is cultural adaptation, but even that is going better than expected. She changed the display to show population statistics. We have mixed colonies on 17 worlds now. Humans, Valians, Korth, and Althans all living together. Crime rates are actually lower than on single-species worlds. Why do you think that is? Young-ho asked. Diversity creates stability, Jiwon explained. Each species brings different perspectives to solving problems. When conflicts arise, there are always multiple ways to resolve them. Defense Coordinator Taehyun leaned forward. The military integration continues to amaze me. Human tactical thinking combined with Valian technology creates combat capabilities that none of us could achieve alone. Explain. Admiral Dongyun requested. Your people think about warfare like a game with constantly changing rules, Taehyun said. My people think about it like a science with fixed principles. When we combine both approaches, we can handle any military situation. Speaking of military situations, Dr. Yunji interjected. What's the status of the exploration fleets? Sulgi spoke up, her voice now individual instead of collective. The joint exploration mission to the Andromeda approach vectors has discovered something interesting. Long-range sensors are detecting artificial structures that don't match any known architecture. The chamber fell silent. After 6 months of peace, the idea of encountering new challenges was both exciting and concerning. Elaborate, Young-ho said. The structures are massive, planet-sized, but they appear to be empty. No life signs, no energy signatures, just massive constructs floating in deep space. Dr. Yunji brought up the sensor data on the main display. These are definitely artificial, but the technology level required to build them is beyond anything we've seen. Superior to human technology? Admiral Dongyun asked. Superior to all of our technologies combined, Dr. Yunji replied. Whoever built these had capabilities that make our current confederation look primitive. Jiwon studied the images. The structures were beautiful and terrifying at the same time, perfect geometric shapes that somehow looked organic, as if mathematics itself had learned to grow. Recommendations? Young-ho asked. Joint investigation, Dr. Yunji said immediately. This is exactly the kind of challenge that requires all of our species working together. Agreed, said Taehyun. If there's a threat out there, we need to understand it. If there's an opportunity, we need to be ready for it. The Korth support exploration, Sulgi added. Unknown technology could benefit all species. Admiral Dongyun nodded. I'll coordinate the military aspects. We'll need ships from all 4 fleets. As the meeting continued, Jiwon reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, these 4 species had been locked in eternal war. Now they were planning joint missions to explore the unknown. After the formal session ended, she found herself walking through the station's observation deck with Dr. Yunji and Young-ho. Do you think it was all worth it? Jiwon asked. The war, the destruction, the centuries of hatred? No, Dr. Yunji replied honestly. The cost was terrible, but maybe it was necessary for us to reach this point. Explain. Each species had to exhaust their own approach before being willing to try cooperation. The Valians had to learn that conquest has limits. The Korth had to discover that unity doesn't require uniformity. The Althans had to understand that survival sometimes requires taking risks. And humans? G1 asked. We had to learn that our ideas about cooperation could work on a galactic scale, Young-Ho replied. For centuries, we wondered if our approach to diversity and independence could work with alien species. Now we know it can. They stood at the observation window, watching ships from all 4 species working together in the space around the station. Crews that would have been shooting at each other 6 months ago were now building new technologies together. What do you think we'll find out there? Jiwan asked, gesturing toward the unknown regions where the mysterious structures waited. I don't know, Dr. Yunji admitted, but whatever it is, we'll face it together. The galaxy has stopped trembling in fear, Young-Ho observed. Now it trembles with possibility. In the weeks that followed, the joint exploration fleet departed for the unknown regions. Ships designed by all 4 species, crewed by mixed teams, armed with technologies that no single civilization could have created. As Jiwan watched them leave from her position as Galactic Ambassador, she thought about the children she had seen that morning in the station's cultural center. Human, Valian, Korth, and Althan children playing together, learning each other's languages, solving problems in ways that amazed their teachers. Those children would grow up in a galaxy where cooperation was normal, where diversity was strength, where the impossible became routine because different minds working together could achieve anything. The old galaxy had trembled, with war and fear. The new galaxy trembled with potential, and somewhere in the unknown regions of space, ancient structures waited to test whether the galaxy's newest confederation was ready for whatever challenges the universe had waiting. But for the first time in centuries, the galaxy was united. Different species, different thoughts, different approaches to problems, all working together toward common goals. Humanity had stepped into the galactic conflict not to win it, but to end it. And in ending it, they had begun something greater than any of them could have imagined. The age of galactic cooperation had begun. The universe was waiting to see what they would accomplish together.